Welcome to Quews.news. This is our special weekly bulletin where we talk about the stories shaping our world and give you insights to make sense of the global political landscape and help you to understand what is happening in Pakistan and around the world. These are our top stories. Senate approves bill allowing ECP to unilaterally announce election dates. Punjab government says trials of May 9th riot suspects to be held in jail. Singapore to put more on the streets. World breaks average temperature record for early June. World Bank says use wasted subsidies to fight climate change. Does the IMF's criticism of reckless budget for new fiscal year carries profound risks for economy? TLP to go ahead with march on Islamabad. Stop confiscating Kashmiri's properties, FO tells New Delhi. Indian police charge BJP lawmaker with sexual harassment in case brought by female wrestlers. Amnesty International, RSF call out Pakistani authorities over cases filed against journalists to silence critics. And now the details. A bill seeking amendments to the Elections Act 2017 aimed at empowering the Election Commission of Pakistan ECP to announce poll dates unilaterally without having to consult the President sailed through the Senate on Friday. The Elections Amendment Bill 2023 was moved by State Minister Shahadat Awan amid protests by senators belonging to Jamaat Islami and the opposition PTI. According to the Statement of Objects and Reasons of the legislation, the Constitution envisages the duty of the ECP to organise and conduct elections honestly, fairly and in accordance with the law. The ECP enjoys administrative and functional autonomy under the provisions of the Constitution and the Election Act 2017, which facilitates the body in fulfilling its core obligation of free and fair elections. To further strengthen the Commission, amendments in sections 57 and 58 of the Election Act 2017 are required to allow the ECP to announce poll dates for general elections on its own. The trial of those arrested in the May 9th events will be held in jail on a daily basis. The government said after a meeting presided over by caretaker Chief Minister Mohsin Naqvi, the meeting was also informed that 200 suspects had been acquitted after being proven innocent. It reviewed the progress made in the legal proceedings against the culprits. The arrested suspects are facing charges under the Anti-Terrorism Act, ATA. Around 200 persons were acquitted after being proven innocent. The meeting was told that the relevant departments would be duly informed about the trial proceedings in jail on a daily basis, expedite the legal actions against the culprits, and make sure that absconding suspects be arrested at the earliest, the CM directed the authorities concerned. The meeting underscored the need to present strong evidence against the arrested suspects and emphasized that no leniency would be shown to any culprits involved in the events of May 9th. IGP Dr. Usman Anwar briefed the meeting over the arrest of the culprits. The Punjab government had reportedly arrested over 3,000 PTI leaders and workers in the aftermath of the May 9th riots. Later, it released 1,200 suspects due to lack of evidence. The PTI claims over 10,000 of its workers across Pakistan had been arrested after May 9th. He said around 74 cases had been forwarded to the military for trial under the Army Act. Singapore will progressively deploy more patrol robots across the city-state, police said on Thursday, after more than 5 years of small-scale trials. Robots were deployed at Changi Airport's Terminal 4 starting in April to augment frontline police officers in conducting premises patrol. The Singapore Police Force, SPF, said more deployments are expected across the city of 5.6 million people, whose small population and low birth rate mean it has to make use of technology to overcome a lack of manpower. The SPF plans to progressively deploy more patrol robots to augment police's operations across Singapore. The SPF said in a statement without giving a timeline. The robots are equipped with cameras, sensors, speakers, a display panel, blinkers, and a siren. An extendable mast with a 360-degree camera gives an on-the-ground view to officers in a situation room, and a two-way channel allows them to talk directly with the public. The patrol robot is the latest addition to SPF's technological arsenal, capable of autonomous patrol and providing the police with an enhanced situational picture to enable better decision and sense-making, the police said. Using its blinkers, siren and speakers, the robot can enforce a cordon or warn bystanders during an incident prior to the arrival of human police, according to the statement. Average global temperatures at the start of June were the warmest the European Union's Climate Monitoring Unit has ever recorded for the period, trouncing previous records by a substantial margin, it said on Thursday. The news comes as the El Nino climate phenomenon has officially arrived, raising fears of extreme weather and more temperature records. The world has just experienced its warmest early June on record following a month of May that was less than 0.1 degrees Celsius, cooler than the warmest May on record, said Samantha Burgess, Deputy Director of the Copernicus Climate Change Service, C3S. Global mean surface air temperatures for the first days of June 2023 were the highest in the ERA's data record for early June by a substantial margin, said Copernicus. Some of the unit's data goes back as far as 1950. Copernicus recently announced that global oceans were warmer last month than in any other May on record. The unit also said that at the beginning of June, global temperatures exceeded pre-industrial levels by more than 1.5 centigrades Fahrenheit, which is the most ambitious cap for global warming in the 2015 Paris Agreement. Trillions of dollars, which could be used to tackle climate change, are being wasted on harmful and unnecessary subsidies, the World Bank said in a report on Thursday. People say there isn't money for climate, but there is. It's just in the wrong places. World Bank Senior Managing Director Axel van Trottersberg said in a statement, if we could repurpose the trillions of dollars being spent in wasteful subsidies and put these to better, greener uses, we could together address many of the planet's most pressing challenges, he added. The World Bank report said $1.25 trillion in direct subsidies are currently given to the agricultural, fishing and fossil fuels sectors each year. Fossil fuel subsidies alone make up around 6 times what countries pledged to mobilize annually under the Paris Agreement for renewable energies and low carbon development, the bank said. Another WB report also identified around $6 trillion in what it called implicit subsidies being wasted each year. The IMF's criticism of Pakistan's reckless budget for fiscal year 2023 to 24 carries profound risks for the economy. The June 30th deadline for meeting the lenders' conditions to unlock funding will likely be missed unless the government agrees to review the document and remedy its weaknesses. It would not be surprising if it does so, considering that it had to hurriedly but comprehensively revise its budget for the outgoing year to accommodate the IMF's concerns for the resumption of its funding program when Mita Ismail was at the helm of the Finance Ministry. Responding to the fund's concerns, Finance Minister Ishaq Dar told senators yesterday that Pakistan cannot accept everything from the IMF. So what would be the consequences if the government fails to pull off the deal? In the best case scenario, Pakistan would struggle throughout the next fiscal to seek bilateral debt relief and secure fresh loans and rollovers of existing ones to meet its external debt obligations of $23 billion. Even if it succeeds in getting concessions from bilateral lenders and new loans from friendly countries, these will come at the cost of further economic slowdown, the loss of more jobs, and higher inflation in the worst-case scenario. Pakistan will default on its debt, something the government has tried to prevent by choking economic growth. While the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan TLP declared on Thursday that it would not suspend its march to Islamabad, the government claimed that key issues had been settled with the party after the second round of negotiations, but the agreed points also include a demand that was not even made by the TLP. The authorities were optimistic that the TLP's Pakistan Bachao March, Save Pakistan March would end even before entering Rawalpindi district, and no arrangements were being made in the twin cities to manage security and traffic. However, the party announced on late Thursday evening that the destination of its march was Islamabad, and it still continues as no settlement has been reached with the government. The marchers who set off from Karachi on May 22nd are scheduled to cross Jhelum River on Friday today after overnight rest at Sare Alamgir. They will then move towards Rawalpindi. Government claims key issues settled with party after second round of talks. Meanwhile, a two-member government side held a record round of negotiations with TLP in an attempt to persuade the party to call off its march to the federal capital. Interior Minister Rana Sanalala and Economic Affairs Minister Sadar Ayaz Sadiq took part in the talks. The TLP was represented by Dr. Shafiq Amini, Ghulam Abbas Faizi, Mufti Muhammad Omar Al-Hazari, Maulana Ghulam Gross Baghdadi, and Jilan Shah. Pakistan on Thursday expressed concern over recurring acts of confiscation of properties of Kashmiri activists and human rights defenders in Indian-held Jammu and Kashmir. India's National Investigation Agency and the State Investigation Agency, SIA, have moved aggressively to seize immovable properties of several Kashmiri activists. Foreign Office spokesperson Mumtaz Zahra Balok told a weekly briefing she said it was a matter of concern that just SIA had attached 124 such properties since its establishment in 2021. We condemn India's recent move to confiscate the property of all parties, Hurriyat Conference spokesperson and Tehreek Hurriyat leader Ayaz Akbar in Srinagar. Mr. Akbar remains behind the bars since 2017 on fictitious charges, she said. Kashmiris are the rightful heirs to their own land. It is unfortunate that non-Kashmiris are being encouraged to buy land and property in the disputed territory, while the properties of Kashmiris are being confiscated and destroyed. Indian police filed charges of sexual harassment and criminal intimidation on Thursday against the chief of the country's wrestling federation, a powerful member of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP) following complaints made by female wrestlers. Public prosecutor Atul Srivatstav read out the charges at a court hearing in the capital, New Delhi. A police source said last week more than 155 people have been questioned in the investigations against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, a member of parliament from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party. The investigations followed months of complaints by the country's top wrestlers, including several Olympic and Asian Games medalists. The wrestlers began a sit-in protest against the lack of action in April and were briefly detained by police in New Delhi as they claimed that this cleared the site the following month. Images of the athletes being dragged away and carried off in buses went viral, sparking criticism from top athletes and opposition politicians. The wrestlers also threatened to throw their medals into the Ganges. Rights organization Amnesty International and global media watchdog Reporters Without Borders (RSF) have raised concerns and called out Pakistani authorities over cases filed against journalists in connection with the events of May 9th on the sedition charges in a bid to silence critics. At least 7 journalists and commentators have been charged with offences against the state and anti-terror laws in the past 4 days. Amnesty International said in a statement on Thursday,
his lawyer,
expressing
Baba
concern over
Awan,
the
called his
crackdown
detention
on voices critical of the state and military. The use of these laws to silence commentators and journalists is a violation of the right to freedom of expressing, the statement added. Citing media reports, Amnesty International said in its statement that all individuals had been charged with offences against the state and anti-terror laws. The Anti-Terrorism Act has been criticised for the sweeping powers given to the police and armed forces to abuse human rights with impunity and remove safeguards against arbitrary arrest, detention and ill treatment, it said, stressing that Pakistani authorities must end the use of offences against the state and anti-terror laws to silence critics. It added that where there was sufficient evidence of wrongdoing, suspects should be charged under ordinary criminal laws with an intentionally recognisable offence, not weaponised to restrict the freedom of expression and produced before a civilian court. That's all from the Quews News Desk. For the moment, we hope that the news we bring you gives you a perspective on the events shaping our world and our lives. Please share your views, suggestions and feedback with Quews.news. Goodbye.